Jim Hopkins is here on behalf of GRF. Well, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Lisa, and yourself?
Excellent,
Good,
excellent.
good,
Nice
good.
to see you here. It's been a little while. Glad you could make it in, and I know you've got a lot of things to cover.
Yeah, we just have a few things to cover. I'm going to be very specific about ITAC,
Okay.
and I'll explain that a little later.
Okay, perfect. So you're talking, well, you do have that kind of at the beginning, but you have some other things you wanted to start with, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, really, I just wanted to say that I'm the treasurer of GRF, and we're just coming out of budget season. And so we'll be presenting the budget, in fact, today at an open meeting at
Right, that's this
1:30 today.
afternoon.
And I think we'll all be pleasantly, well, not surprised if you've been watching, but I think we'll be very pleasant, considering the 9% inflation that we're going into today. So you'll be pleasantly surprised if you haven't been watching.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So when you talk about some of the things that you have to put into, the budget, I mean, it's a large community.
Oh, it's super large. In fact, I believe it may be one of the largest HOAs in the country. And of course, we're self-governed.
Right.
Self-governed and our HOA is basically part of us.
Yes.
So that makes us unique in terms of our involvement in both the community and the budget process.
Right, right.
So it involves all 40-some directors.
Yes.
And getting us all on the same page can be a unique challenge.
Right, okay. So now, being the treasurer, you would be in charge of accounting and finance?
Well, I wouldn't say in charge,
Okay.
but we certainly have a big influence over the direction that we go into, because we can put everything in a language that, a financial language that people understand. And that's the goal, because I look at finance as being a separate, in some cases, a separate language.
Yes.
And to be able to translate those debits and credits and those types of things into a usable language that anybody can understand in terms of how it impacts them. That's kind of the goal of the committee. And to review the financial impact of things that we need and want to do.
Right. Now, tell me about your past a little bit. Were you in the finance field?
Wow, yes. Well, I've got a 50 or more year career. I started off in accounting and rose. I started with IBM, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I rose through the ranks, I went to pricing, planning, accounting, controllership,
Wow.
just a lot of different opportunities. They say I wasn't good at anything, so they kept moving me along. But, and then after that, I decided to go off on my own. I started my own company, printing company. That didn't do very well. It was in the middle of the recession.
Sure.
And so I've had a lot of different exposures, I would say, and it hasn't been monolithic in the sense that it's just been finance. I've had operational activities, been CFO of a couple of smaller companies,
Okay.
100, 200 million and less, that type
Okay.
of thing. So it's been, and I'm kind of I have wanderlust, so, I get the job done and I move on.
Oh,
And so-
okay. Well, that's all right. I think that's good. I mean, obviously, you're perfect for the position that you
Yeah.
have here now. Talk to me a little bit about Enterprise Resource Planning System. What is that?
Wow. Yes, we call it ERP.
Okay.
And the ITAC committee, and that's the Information Technology Advisory Committee,
Okay.
is responsible for, first of all, seeking out what we need as an ERP. And the ERP is, think of a huge app, all right? I think of it as a huge app. And it's basically the underpinnings of everything that we do here in this sense. Early on, it would have been called an accounting system. And that goes back maybe 70-some years. As we've grown in terms of, as the technology has grown, it basically now is the lifeblood of almost everything administratively that's being done in an enterprise. And so instead of calling it an accounting system, we then call it a business management system. The new terminology is ERP, which is Enterprise Resource Planning System, which tries to encompass everything that it does. It's huge. Our ERP was prior to this initiative was simply two very major programs that we tried to marry and put together, and they were aging. And so somewhere, I'm going to say in late 2019, a group of directors decided to form a software research committee.
Yeah.
And so when they formed that, and then they formed their basis for research, and then eventually that research was given to the ITAC committee, the newly formed ITAC committee, and that ITAC committee went through, using that basis, a combination of maybe 12 to 15 different vendors.
Wow.
To determine what software, and I hate using that term because
Yeah.
there's so much more than that.
Yeah.
But to determine the software that we would be using, and then how to implement it.
Okay.
And so that's the process we're in right now. Is
Okay.
what we've already decided which one. That was decided back in February, I believe, of this year.
Okay.
Okay. And then we kicked off the process. We negotiated with our vendor. We kicked off the process in May 30th.
Okay.
May 30th, we kicked off the process. So now we're in a pretty detailed process of understanding our needs and our wants.
Well, what do you hope to accomplish with this system?
Well, it's an interesting thing because most people don't see the system itself.
Yeah.
They just see the results of it. I like to think of it, when people ask me what is ERP, think of it as you have a circulatory system and you have a nervous system. You never see that circulatory system or that nervous system, but yet you know when it's starting to go wrong, when it's starting to age. And so ours was starting to age. And so given the technology that's available today, we're going in a completely, not different direction, because that's where the modern direction is, but we're going to put everything up into the cloud.
Oh, right.
Okay, think of it as Microsoft Word you used to buy, every 5 years you had to buy a new
Yeah.
one. Okay? We will no longer have to buy a new one.
Gotcha.
It's all in the cloud, okay? And it's going to stay updated by virtue of our vendor. In this case, it's going to be Microsoft 365.
Okay.
Or actually, that's the software. It's going to stay up to date because they're going to be constantly updating their cloud-based software.
Okay.
So it's going to basically change how we do things and change the results.
So change how we do things, but you're not. That's in the background, though, right?
In the background.
So
yes.
we're still going to operate like resident services still operates the way it does. Your accounting and other things still operate the same way. It's just now your background is just different. But hopefully it'll provide you more resources and, like you said, charts and reports and things that may be more up to date than what you've had before.
Absolutely. We're hoping that everything be paperless. Now we know that's an impossible task, but that's the goal.
Okay.
And so the staff will have enormous amount of reports, details to be able to manage and become a lot more efficient. Rather than preparing things, they'll be now analyzing things to help provide a much better service to us residents.
Well, in some cases, that will certainly save a lot of time.
Absolutely, and we're looking to avoid some of the natural increases that'll happen as a result of the staffing increase, not staffing increases, but wage increases, inflationary increases, and all those kind of things. Those are inevitable.
Okay.
I mean, the world, that's what's going on in the world. And
Yeah.
the only way to avoid some of those is to become more efficient, and that's what this will do for us.
That's great.
Yes.
Now, how will you be rolling this out?
Okay, well, we're going to start with what people think of as the end result first. In other words, finance will be the first ones to take advantage of the new systems. Everything comes into finance eventually. Okay, as a result, we look at everything as, what are the results? They call it results of operations, actually, is what the statements are called. And so we're going to start with finance, and that's in process right now. We've had over 40 meetings within finance, the vendor has, to understand what they do, how they do it, look at the things that they do, what can be done better, what do you wish to be done differently, okay? And by working with the teams or the staff, our vendor, which is Advantico, Advantico, will be then assessing and then looking at, okay, here's what you want, here's what you do, here's what you want to do. What are the gaps? The gaps to what you want to do, as well as best practices, because our industry isn't new. So there are some best practices that in some cases our current software does not allow us to practice.
Okay.
The new software will allow that and give us a lot better analysis, management knowledge of what's going on a real-time basis.
Sounds like a great solution. Something that you definitely had to dive into. 40 meetings.
Oh yeah.
For one company, that's a lot. That means,
and that's just the accounting and finance.
Yeah, I would imagine it's going to keep going.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much for the update. I really appreciate it. Great information.
Great.
And when you guys are, knee deep in all that, come back again.
Okay.
And tell us how. Woo.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And if you have any questions about what we've just discussed or comments, you can always send an email to generalmanager@vmsinc.org and it will get directed to the right person. We'll be right back.